Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Rod, The Names Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, John Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is on Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Over there. And they always have like 30, 40 people there. You know, all the ones that got kicked from here or destroyed from here. So I had a little discussion with them. They're validating gravity by electrostatics and weight. That's how you have gas pressure without a container. Or that's how you have gas pressure without containment. And they also told me, this other guy told me, he goes, please, with your 6th grade science, in other words, a shot at QE, I said, then that's even more embarrassing for you because you can't understand science that a 6th grader can understand. The scientific method has not changed. Oh, no. No. When you get to higher learning, you learn real science. This is what they were telling me over there. So I started hitting them with the housekeeping questions. And of course, they couldn't answer any of them.
Well, the gravity answer would be the electric thing. That's not the mainstream narrative, is it? So you can just stop them there. I mean, why? You shouldn't let them just make up whatever. They got to back this
I
stuff
like when
up,
they
right?
make up stuff. I like when they make
do?
up stuff because I could tell them that's not what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. But they throw him under the bus.
Well, then cite somebody else. But it's got to be from the mainstream narrative. They can't just make up their own Bible.
No. See, righteous, what they are is they're in real pain. So they become anti-flat earthers. And then I just start berating them there. But Jeb was pretty good. Jeb was, he was giving me opportunities to speak.
I get along with Jem too. I never had any falling out.
He's like, hello, Neil. Have you got anything new? I said, no, just Earth is still flat. You know, we've proven it. We've debunked the globe with all our housekeeping questions. And we've proven flat Earth through celestial navigation. You can't get an elevation angle from a curved surface. Yes, you can. That's not how you do it. It's done in a sphere. But nothing to back it up, you know. It was funny though.
So weight is their argument. So gas go down, go boom boom.
Yes, weight and electrostatics too. It's combined with electrostatics.
I mean, they like Righteous said, they can keep that. But what I find interesting is weight. Weight creates the atmosphere. So gas, produced in the sky, falling down, displacing air, air displacing air, going down. No, that's not how gas behaves, is it? Gas expands in all directions. It's not going down with weight. How'd you weigh a gas? Did you stick it on a scale? Oh no, you don't weigh anything, right?
Yeah, they said you could weigh the gas. And I told them, I said, first of all, you're invoking gravity when you say weight. So give me the scientific validation for gravity. What's the experiment you have?
You don't even need that. When they say weight, just right. So you mean a solid going through the medium of air in a downward vector? That's what weight means. Right, okay. Does gas do that? When it's the medium described when you weigh something? You're not weighing it underwater, are you? You're weighing it in air. So the medium, they say, is also what, pressing down on the scale? No. No, gas doesn't behave like that. Furthermore, the notion that it does is 108 years out of date. When you say, oh,
exactly.
Tyson don't say that, what? They throw him under the bus. All right, you'd rather stick with the dusty old gas go down, go boom, boom, attracted to the centre of mass of the Earth. All right, that's very interesting. Gas doesn't do that.
Nathan, that's 6th grade science, Nathan.
Gas doesn't do that. I don't care what science they say it is. Gas does not do that.
Well, the funny thing is, you had, how old is Steve Rose's son? Maybe 8? And he put that thing up where he knew the behavior of gas, and these people don't. Well, what I said was, on top of that, that's what I told them. I said, so you have gas with weight. How do you weigh? Because that's what they're claiming, that the gas has weight.
Yeah, so gas go down. Go boom, boom. Go splash, splash. Like bouncy balls, right?
Like
poured into a fishy tank, right? Yeah.
Like bouncy balls.
Goes down like bouncy balls. Right.
I told him, I said, Jem, please. I know you're not a stupid man, Jem. I'm appealing to the intelligence you do have. What are you still doing here? Earth is flat. I understand that there's a little pain, but you'll get over it. He's like, sorry, Neil. It's not flat. It's never been flat. For thousands of years, they know it's here. All right. The Greeks again, huh?
And gas go down, go boom, boom.
Which brings me to my other thing. I gotta get my son. I gotta get him together with Chewy. One day when Chewy's on, I gotta put my son on. He's got the quantum mechanics. He's got it down, but he's missing it because he's taking it into space and he's not understanding. But he's got the whole delayed choice quantum eraser. He was explaining it to me. But he thinks that he said they've created black holes on Earth with the hydrogen collider. I said, Jacob, how did they create black holes? So they know what a black hole is. They went up to space and they searched this black hole. So how do they know what they're making down here is a black hole? And how do you know if they're making anything down here with this hydrogen collider?
Hadron.
Whatever. What is it called? Hadron?
Hadron.
Whatever it is. You know they're not making no black hole.
I don't know, man. Those dots and lines are pretty convincing.
And he sent the what do you call it? The how did he say it? Let me get his phrasing down. He said, oh, hold on. I can't think of it right now. I just had it, and then I forgot what he said about the, what is it called? Hadron collider? Hadron. How do you spell it? Oh, that's what he said. It disproved Einstein's theory of relativity. That's what he's saying. But he's also claiming that these so-called experiments that are done when he's invoking the speed of light, which no one knows the speed of light, correct? Hello? Did I get
Yes,
disconnected?
yes, Neil, yes.
Yes, me. Answer the freaking question.
Well, anything else happened on Jam Panda?
No, that was it. They're just asserting a bunch of nonsense. They're all trying to get me to understand their pseudoscience. So basically, that's what I said. I said, what you're describing to me is you're a bunch of pseudoscientists. Because without experimentation, it's not science. You see, it's a method. Oh, they asked me about my science acumen, how far I went in school. I said, you're joking me. You want me? You're appealing to my education? Science is a method. If you learn a scientific method, you can do science. But they claim that that's just a sixth grade. That's just a sixth grade science. That as you go on learning and you go to college, you learn the real science.
I,
It's not the first time I heard that. What's his name? Scott Beach said the same thing.
I think that actually happens. I think somebody said that does happen. So it's interesting how that works if that's true. They'll teach you the right way, and then afterwards they'll teach you the wrong way. Does anybody know if it's true or?
Well, think about it, right? Just they have to start going the pseudoscience way because of the lights in the sky. You got astrophysicists, right? And you gotta keep that going, right? You gotta keep the heliocentric nonsense going.
Is that a college and university course? If that is, then they do have to change what science means, right? In order for those fields to exist. So, okay.
Agree.
I always thought that like people use information and keep it to themselves, and as a sense of that's like a control mechanism, right? What you keep for yourself and fill people with other things that it kind of keeps them off the scent, so to say, right? And you could look at this at like smaller levels too, and it's like it's legit. I'm not saying it's not legit. Like for example, a lawyer, because you're not studying law all the time and always familiar with law, you have to appeal to a lawyer to, handle the law stuff, right? So your ignorance in law, in a sense, puts you, you know what I'm saying? Like how information can be used to, uh, stumbling with my words. How do I word this?
What are you trying to say? Trying to compare
Well,
it with what
basically,
they're doing with science?
well, same with the thing. If they keep to themselves what the real science is, right? They can keep you dependent on them. Are you following me? Just like a lawyer, if you're not familiar with law, and it's natural not to be familiar with law because you have to be in law all the time to be up to date with the law. So, as a sense of that, you have to be appealing to them, right? And it's like with everything else, like with doctors and so on and so forth. Now, I'm not knocking anybody down. I'm not knocking lawyers or doctors down, okay? But it's just the way it is. And just even like I could even apply it to the Bible, right? Like people that study God's word regularly, right? People tend to go to them and ask them, well, what does God's word say about that? And they can show you, right? And if you see it, you hang on to it. If you don't see it, you don't have to hang on to it.
Yeah, but I don't think that Huey laid it down for us all here, right? On Flat Earth Debate and other platforms. So
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm
full
not
of crap.
disagreeing with that.
No, I know
Yeah,
what
I'm not
you're saying,
well, I don't want to say people are full of anything, but I'm not disagreeing with that part. I'm just saying how like information is like is like a commodity, right? And if it's just if you're just privy to it, people can depend on you. Are you following me?
yeah, you
That's
hold
all
the
I was
cards.
saying.
You hold the cards. So
Right.
everybody
So
has to go to you.
right, like for a lawyer, you go for a lawyer for advice, right? Because he holds the cards. He's well studied in law, right? Nah, it's not anything sinister or anything like that. You just go to him and you're asking for legal advice, and he'll say, "This is what the law says about this, that, and the other," and then you get to choose, right? You still have a choice in the matter, but you need his help, his expertise in law. And as a result of him being an expert in law, you are dependent in his expertise in law. Does that make sense? Well, it's the same thing with science. What if the real science they teach, and then what they teach at other levels is just bogus stuff, so they can exert this control over you of your not having knowledge in this information, how things really work. And it seems like there's a lot of that stuff in the world. Like, nah, I'm not into free energy, or I haven't really looked into it. I'm ignorant of it. But let's just say free energy was a thing, right? And there's other energy sources out there, right? Well, if you keep people in the dark that there's other energy sources, you can use that to push your energy source because they're ignorant of other energy sources. Does that make sense? So it can be abused in a sense. Does that make sense? So I'm thinking, what if the same thing applies to the scientific method, right? What if I was gonna go to Tesla? I know some people question whether he exists or not. I just take it for granted that he exists, but he apparently, worked with tangible stuff. But then people substituted tangible stuff for, wandering equation to equation, having no relation to reality. And in a sense, they're kept in the dark about a lot of things as a result of that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, anyways, yeah, that's it. Okay, I came across. I'm done. Sorry, I drawn it out a bit.
Good afternoon, all.
Hello.
Hello, George.
I actually thought it was a very interesting point, and while you were saying it, I was thinking about the whys and wherefores of why we get self-appointed gurus in the flat earth side of the discussion. Well, for the same reasons, right? If you stumble across this subject and you've got a life to get on with, and you haven't got the time to look into it, then you go to your guru, and then they know what
Right.
they're, whatever they're peddling that might be complete nonsense, you're going to swallow it because you trust that guru.
Right. And I'm not attributing malice or anything like that, but it could be like that, right? If you don't double check for yourself, you're at the mercy at them, right? You could say in a sense. Like
Yeah.
even with me, come on.
Well, I was going to say I'd be a lot more popular if I had that attitude, which is to say, when people ask me, well, why does this do that? Rather than saying, I don't know, I don't make a claim about it. People don't want that. What they want is, it works like this. And then a little model presentation with a really good graphic. That's what they want. Well, I don't give them that.
And to be fair, I do appeal to some of you guys on the panel because I don't spend that much time in the FE anymore. And I do come up to you guys, like I'll ask Tenth something, I can know something about the sextant every now and then, and he'll explain it to me. And I appreciate you guys putting the time in some of this stuff and showing it to us.
If it's hard and fast and proven and documented and easily evidenced, then you'd be a fool not to. Just present the information as you understand it to the next person. That's perfectly reasonable. But where there's seemingly reasonable explanations that would have been offered up to date, like why is the sky blue, once you realise that the model that it's based on can't offer that explanation anymore, you don't suddenly automatically have an explanation for all those things that have been explained. However, there are plenty of people in this arena, the flat earth arena, that will offer explanations for those sorts of things, ad hoc explanations that they haven't actually thought through in any way other than to have it presented by some other person that's given it some considerations and then pulled up a model. Well, that consideration isn't necessarily any more or any less valid than the one that the explanation that you've just rejected, because the model doesn't work. Well, if you just jump from one frying pan into another, what's the point? If you're just looking for next man to explain what it is because you were explained how it worked in the school system you went through, and now you don't know anymore. You just need a replacement. It's like, oh, what's the point?
That's interesting how that works. Like, even me, when I was looking in the community when I first came onto it, I was really curious about how it works too. Like, my mind went there, and it still is curious. But those things that we haven't validated, we should just say that it's just an idea, and we haven't validated, and just kind of have that disclaimer.
It's just because you did, for the certain aspects that you did have explanations for, not having explanations for them has been taken advantage of by our opponents to offer up false dichotomy. If you can't tell me why boats disappear bottom up at the horizon, then I win. It's Earth curve. Right, that's their attitude. So you get a lot of crappy ad hoc explanations for why things disappear at the horizon when none of us are making a claim about it. There's nothing dependent on us explaining that phenomena. That's not necessary. It's necessary for them to ascribe Earth curve to it. Once that fails, that's the end of that argument. Well, what I do, but I don't care. No, you need to explain. No, I don't. What, you're intrigued now you know it's not Earth curve causing that? Yeah, bugger off and do about 2 years of research like I had to. What, you just want me to offer that to you like your guru? Sod off. Nah, I'm not interested.
Well, you can simplify instead of offering the explanation, you can just say, well, it looks like it could be an optical phenomena. How do you know it's not ruled out, right?
Nah. I'd much rather offer it up in the format of their globe maths, with the cognitive dissonance that they have when looking at that maths, and then suggest that a cow could be visible at 1 million miles, only to watch our opponent come up with the idea that you could see that cow so long as you're high enough above Earth curve. That's what I'd rather do. In other words, now I've got an exemplary knowledge of how their maths doesn't work, I'll just dangle out little traps for them to grab hold of, so that they say the most stupid things imaginable, and I'll just put up little clips of Father Ted next to it when they say that a cow will never disappear so long as it's bright enough and you're high enough above the hill of Earth curve to see it. Like, yeah, I'll get you to say that because that's how your maths works. So I understand how your brain works when you're looking at the maths, and how you completely ignore the fact that shit shrinks. Yeah, and then it'll be very embarrassing when I point that out to you, and you will be there scratching your head as the globe believer going, oh, well, maybe perspective's in there somewhere, with my feet and inches value that don't change with distance. Like, no, they're not. Yeah, but having spent 8 years researching it, I know they're not, so I can embarrass you with one video, one response. Next thing from the globe believer, a declaration that things never disappear into the distance. You know, Father Ted levels of incompetence. That's what the globe maths does to people. Makes them stupid. Because they have to accept various different premises that don't work. I.e., the idea that things don't disappear unless they're going behind Earth curve, exactly as the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve maths asserts. So when you point out, this is how the maths works in Earth curve, as long as there's not a hill in the way, the cow's visible. They'll come back at you and go, absolutely correct. Oh yeah, Dumbo. This cow is small, that cow is far away. Okay? Now sod off, go and learn about how the bloody world works. Or scratch your head about how you'll get one over on me because Earth curve really is real. Check out the metabunk maths. Yeah, whatever. Was there 7 years ago, now I'm just using that information to humiliate idiots. As for educating those idiots in how the horizon causes a diffraction limit, nah, I'd rather have people be under the misapprehension because cats put it out there that I don't know what diffraction is. Alright, okay, yeah, carry on. Until you come at me, and then you'll find out how much I know about the diffraction limit. I won't even have to talk about it. I'll just get you telling me that cows never disappear in the distance. How embarrassing. Yeah, that's much more preferable. Don't educate them. Use their ignorance against them. Humiliate them. These people, these assholes, let's face it, have been at us for years, trying to make out like we're the stupid ones. All right, no worries. Well, I've got a better knowledge of your maths and your religion than you do, and I can very easily turn that into an embarrassing video where you declare that things never disappear into the distance. They don't get smaller, because that's what the Earth curve math says. They're always the same feet and inches. All right, so stuff never gets smaller? Of course it does. That's reality versus Earth curve. Well, knowing that just means I can just, like I say, take the piss. I'm going to educate people like Globe Man on his misapprehensions of how perspective isn't real. Yeah, no thanks. No. I'm done with all that. If you're supportative, different matter. Yeah, if you're helping me clear my overdraft or whatever it is I'm facing financially, which is always the case, it's always a financial issue. Well, then those people who support me, more than happy to, repay the favour. If I'm going to disseminate something useful to you and you ask, I'll just offer up the information free. Obviously. But what I mean by support is sharing the video, liking the video, leaving a nice comment. Obviously, super chats are financially directly going to help me, and that goes without saying. But what I'm saying is, the people who come along and go, "You're wrong," no, I'm not. That's the end of that. So the moment you tell me I'm incorrect in the comments about this specialist subject that I've spent 8 years studying, I'm just going to go, "No, I'm not." Get lost. Right? You can argue your toss in front of me, in front of an audience, so I can humiliate you. It's unfair. We never win. Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's embarrassing for you when you come in front of me. That's why you don't come. Yeah, I understand. Now, don't tell me about how unfair it is when you want to argue with me in the comments at my time and expense in the mornings when I wake up and go through those comments. Nah. Sod off. If you want to believe you're on a sphere at this point, 8 years into the discussion, more power to you. Believe you're on a sphere. Good for you. I don't care.
Hey, Nathan. Nathan, that's another thing Jem said, that maps, travel have proved better to the sphere. I said, oh, there's a problem with that, Jem. Because all the maps are flat. Even your globe comes from flat Earth elevation angle measurements from Polaris. So there's a real problem. So you're right. You use their own stupidity against them.
And to get back to what Nathan was saying, but the thing is, this is kind of what we're dealing out there. A lot of people are really ignorant of a lot of stuff of how things work, like perspective, for example. So this is out there. I mean, even that video, that person you did it on, what's his name? Globe Man, right? He may even be new to this scene, right? And he's just quickly doing Google searches and being led to, the information that's out there, and it's just parroting this stuff out there. He might just be totally ignorant of how this stuff works, just like he's
Of
ignorant
course
of,
he is.
or
He's gone on TikTok, and I don't know how the preferred content system works, but either way, you've got people who are obviously set to task to go and do what they do because it brings popularity. Doesn't matter which way you dice it. There's more people who want to know that the Earth isn't flat than want to know that it is. They know it's out there, so they want to find out how it's not flat. So those are going to be the most popular videos. So you stick out a video on TikTok and get 70,000 views and go, "Wow, this is great. I'm a genius. Just telling you how it's not flat and everyone loves me." Until we come along. And then we take every word you've said and point out how stupid it is. But if you're new to the subject and you just see the popularity that somewhere like TikTok offers instantly, you're going to think you're a genius. You're going to think you're invincible. And then the people who are, "Oh, look how much less popular that guy is. He's not going to do very well." Oh, yeah. Well, you should have a bit more forethought. I remember looking into erectile dysfunction. That would be Earth Discussions, ED. And going, these guys definitely know more about this subject than I do. And going, all right, okay. I'll be tentative around these guys. I'll learn what I need to learn to overcome their arguments before I go in front of them and go, "You're just idiots. You don't know that the Earth's flat." But I do, because here's an azimuthal equidistant globe projection. Now I'd go, "Oh, I don't claim that." Meanwhile, it does use latitude lines that have come from a flat Earth elevation angle measurement to Polaris. So the grid system, coincidentally the same as the grid system on the globe, has come from a flat Earth. Not that I claim that map, but all of them are flat, and all of them use the same grid system that's been measured on a flat Earth. So is that a globe proof? It's a globe projection. Not before it was measured to Polaris with elevation angles, it wasn't. It became a globe model with that grid that's measured flat. So you want to claim that we've got that map. It's not my map. I haven't made it. I'm not a cartographer. What I do know is it's come from a flat Earth elevation angle measurement to Polaris. That's the end of that argument. It's a flat Earth map. Doesn't matter that it has a step in between where you projected it onto a globe and then made it all distorted by projecting it flat again with the grid system intact, but now instead of circles, it's straight lines. All right, well, you've distorted that map because you wanted to put a globe in between the process. That's why it doesn't work. It's not a flat Earth map. Yeah, they're all flat, but they're all distorted from the globe step in between.
Good morning.
Hey, everyone.
Hello,
Hey, Brian.
Brian. Hello, Tent.
How's the sound? I got new internet service. It's super fast.
Pucker. Very nice.
Hey, I got a video today. Most epic fights in science, but most of their fights aren't science, so it should be fun.
Wow, you ain't kidding. It's super fast. I missed everything you said.
Were you talking about the Gleason's map there a few minutes ago, Nathan? I came in in the middle of what you were saying.
No, I was saying Gem Panda thinks that travel and maps prove Earth is a sphere. All maps.
No, any map that has the latitude and longitude grid on it, any map that has that on it is derived from a flat plane. Any map that has a Cartesian grid on it is derived from a flat plane. And they all have either latitude and longitude or Cartesian.
Yeah, they don't accept that, Brian. They say that's your logic. I said, no, that's what it is. Yep.
Well,
there's just one big problem there, right, Brian? The tool they need to use can only work on a baseline that's level and horizontal.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If they want to maybe show us where their radius came from, the measurement of it, because I can show them where it came from, the real measurement that they derived the radius from, or hijacked the radius from. You know, it's total nonsense. All they do is they distort everything south of the equator. So places like Australia are all distorted. You know, south of the equator all the time. South Africa, South America, all stretched when that's why I was told. That's what my video was about some months back. That longitudinal reassignment, where the whole point was to change the sizes of all the continents out of the equator back to what they should be, and then you'd have, you know, just follow the longitude lines correctly, and then you'd have a correct world map. You'd have to change the longitudinal positions of some of the places but that'd just be a figure. That'd just be a calculation change. So instead of somewhere being whatever, you know, let's just say 350 east, it would be 347 east or something like that. You know, that kind of way. You know, that's all it would be, calculation change for reality. But there's no world map. There's no world map that actually works as a map, because they keep on sticking them on globes.
You mean you don't need to apply the Haverside formula to it?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, Brian, I gave them all of it, man. I went in there because I was bored. I didn't know what to do. My wife was in the supermarket, so I said, let me see what's happening over at Gems. There's so many people there, though. I got to give them that. They all get together, and they all pat each other on the back. So I went in there and just berated a few of them.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using stock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by, if I could see, because I can't, the lights are on, I can't see, Brian, 10th Man, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all. And Darwin.
Good morning, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Enthusiasm level 20. That's fantastic.
Hello.
Well, it was 100% from us.
Good afternoon. I was on mute.
Can we get a hey hey from Discord?
Hey, hey.
Very good.
Good morning. Good morning.
At least the show's working. That's more than important. Let's be honest.
Hey.
Is there any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over
No, you're
there. It's definitely over there. I mean, couldn't be more clear skied to know that it is over there.
Well,
You're gonna-
they know. Sorry, go on. Ted.
No. Go ahead, Brian. No fault.
But they know the distance to it because they know its actual size, because they have its angular size, and they know its actual size because they know the distance to it, because they have its angular size. That's the logic.
Sounds
They
like
have
a
an
feedback
angular
loop.
size. Yeah, it's the left hand pane, the right hand pane, the left. They have an angular size of something that they don't even know. They've never experienced the actual size of, and they're giving it a size and a distance, and it's all back and engineered off of the sun's angular size, and a globe's pre-assumed radius. But how can you state that something has that the sun has an angular size of 0.5 degrees when you don't know its actual size or its actual distance? You don't know any of that. So how can you even state that as an angular size? Because an angular size is something that is a derivative of an actual size. How do you know you're not just looking at its actual size because it's some weird phenomenon?
No. You can declare its angular size quite happily just by measuring the angle to it. But the angle to it will only give you its not actual size. That's its angular size. Apparent, meaning not actual size. Well, that's fine. But does that give you anything in terms of its distance or its actual size? No, it does not. And then you're back to the left-hand pane and the right-hand, or however you described it, which is very appropriate.
Yeah, the left pays the right and the right pays the left because they know the distance due to the actual size. They know the actual size due to the distance. But where did they get any of these? You know, they had to go. They had to pre-assume that that Venus was the same size as the globe Earth when it was transiting in front of the sun. You know what I mean? This is all. It's just like, well, where did they get that from?
Circular
But
reasoning.
Brian, what would make them think that? I don't get the assumption. Just because they've seen Venus transiting, they say, "Oh, it's the same size as Earth. Let's use that." Is that what they did?
No.
Well, they needed to know how far away from the sun Venus was, because to then find out how far away Earth was from the sun, because they knew how far away Earth was from Venus because they had its angular size. That's their logic. So if they knew that because of its angular size in relation to the sun's angular size, how far away Venus was from the sun, and then they added that to the distance that they had worked out from Venus's angular size that it was from Earth, from their globe Earth, and then they added two of them together, and they came up with the sun's actual size, something they already needed to determine the distance between Venus and the sun. It's a big loop, feedback loop of, as Aaron says, absolute nonsense and pre-assumption.
It's the same in geology. Quick shout out to Essential Goat, who gifted 5 memberships, and before I could even get the chat up to suggest people redeem them, however that is done, they'd all gone. So shout out to you, Essential Goat. Really appreciate it.
I think that he specifically sends them to people. It's not like
okay.
you grab them.
No,
Gotcha.
that's not how you do it. I think it's when you type in, right after he does that, you send the chat and you get it, unless he personalizes them.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Shout out to you. Really
Yeah.
appreciate the support. Thank you, Sensual Goat. But yeah, it's the same in geology. So how old are these bones? Arbitrary number. They're 65 million years old. Oh, really? How do you know that? Well, we date them based on the rocks that they're found in, and we know how old the rocks are. Oh, I see. Oh, that's fascinating. Thank you very much for telling me. How do you know how old the rocks are? Well, based on the kind of bone fragments and such like, obviously that dates how old the rocks are.
That's such a
Yep.
That's exactly the same.
Right. It's a dosey
The fossil record dating. Ridiculous.
They needed to know the actual size of the sun. The actual distance to the sun and its actual size to find out the actual distance to the sun and its actual size. That's how ridiculous.
Right. Speaking of the sun being a second law of thermodynamics violation, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No, you need an available volume, and that volume needs to be limited, and there needs to be a limit to the maneuverability of the gas. So if it could escape, it's not going to pressurize.
Well, fortunately, we had.
and according to hold on.
I was going to say Neil's going to regale us with the Gem Panda explanation, one of which will be discounted immediately as an anti-flat Earth rhetoric, but the other one will be in line with the globe rhetoric, so we'll address it. Go ahead, Neil.
Okay, Gem Pandas, they said that it's due to electrostatics and weight. That's how you can have gas pressure uncontained. And they also started explaining atmospheric pressure as opposed to gas pressure, which to me, they're all pressure. And you can't have either of them unless you contain.
Well, no, you can have atmospheric pressure without containment because gas go down, go boom, boom. As for electrostatics, that's just nonsense. You can't incorporate some fringe subject that's not incorporated into Einsteinian pseudo-Riemannian force space-time bending, if that's the current gravity, or appeal to 108 years out-of-date mass-attracting mass, aka the gas is attracted to the mass of Earth because mass attracts mass. Well, it doesn't. Gas isn't going down with weight, so weight is a downward vector in the medium of air. Don't believe me?
Right.
Take a...
That's sixth grade science.
Take a beach ball.
And electrostatics has an extremely limited range, always, no matter how strong it is, really.
Yeah, but who cares?
So...
It's not part of the globe claim. It's not part of the globe claim. The globe claim is gravity, right? So what's gravity? Okay, either 108-year out-of-date mass-attracting mass, which is C.V. Boy's Reverend John Michel and Cavendish gravity, falsely ascribed to Newton, or the new hotness, since 108 years at least, of pseudo-Riemannian force space-time bending as a result of the uneven distribution of mass. It's not a force, but that's the current rhetoric of gravity. Well, in either instance, the idea that gas goes down because mass attracts mass, that would be the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth with its mass greater than the mass of the gas, forces the gas to go down towards the ground. Well, that defies gas behaviour. Gas does not do that. Gas expands in all directions, in all vectors at high velocity to fill whatever volume it's got to fill. That's what gas does. So it's not attracted to the centre of Earth. Okay, well what's, if they're saying weight, that got to do with how gas behaves? Well, sod all, because weight would be defined as the solid moving through the medium of air. Take a beach ball and put it on a weight, a scale, as a weight, and you'll get, I don't know, 50 grams. You take the exact same ball and put it in the medium of water, it goes up. So it's specific to the medium. The medium being the very thing that they need to be contained is what they're justifying the containment with. Will gas go down, go boom, boom? No, it isn't produced in the sky. No, it comes from the ground and goes up, expanding into the volume, whatever that may be. I don't know what the volume is. I don't know what the container is, but I know we must have it for the gas to press on. Press on. So yeah, as for electrostatics, who cares? Not part of the globe claim. They want to, obviously make an individual claim as anti-flat earthers of some electrostatic force that's holding gas without containment. then maybe they could show us a demonstration of that, and we can take it into consideration like we would with anybody else's views on the nature of Earth. Obviously, it'll have to work with the second law of thermodynamics in that regard, in terms of entropic dispersion. And if it doesn't, then obviously we'll call it out as bunk. But meanwhile, the globe's got a claim that gas goes down, go boom boom, like solid bonded bouncy balls poured into a fish tank, when gas simply does not behave that way. Gas expands in all directions to fill the availability of volume it has to fill. It's the V in PV equals nRT. Anything else?
And therefore,
Objects.
and therefore, to conclude that, with all that being said, Nathan, here's to you, 10th man. You haven't heard this in a while. The answer to that question is absolutely not.
That's a fine rebuttal.
Objects weigh more in a vacuum. That is impossible under their conditions. It's the opposite of what needs to happen under their conditions that they're claiming. There's no way around that. Now, I have a feeling that basically any of them that watched that and paid attention to that little presentation on ball busters there a week or so ago, or any of them that watched my video in the past, what they're actually doing is someone like PhD Danny Faulkner comes along, tells absolute lies, and they just roll with that. Because at this stage, all they have is lies and fraud to roll with. What have they actually got? What have they got?
Well, when
in the
you
way
say
of
they,
proof of anything?
there's three groups, isn't there? There's the globe believers who are blissfully ignorant. Then there's us, who sleep quite soundly, although probably very poor. And then there's the anti-flat earthers, who have sleepless nights and stress and pain, and have to run around in circles, scratching each other on the back, telling them that weight gives them atmosphere, begging the question. It's like atmo, air, sphere, sphere-shaped air. Air doesn't arbitrarily take the shape of a sphere. What's that? It goes down, go boom boom, towards the centre of the mass of Earth. No, gas definitely doesn't do that. How many farts have you seen fall to the ground and go into puddles? What's that? They spread throughout your house, making everyone realise how stinky and dirty you are? Yeah, that's right. They expand, don't they? Gases. Yeah, that's what they do. Even if there's other gases in their way, they might bounce off them and go down, but ultimately they'll just keep going in whatever vector they're travelling until they bounce off something, like a container, which would be required to attain the pressure. Because pressure's it pressing? Can't press on a sky vacuum. It would expand into it. We'd all be dead. But what's that? Wait. Just go down, go boom boom. What, like weight of bouncy balls poured through air into a fish tank? No, gas doesn't do that, I'm afraid. Yeah, there's no puddles of gas.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
Hey, Choco.
We're going to do a bit of
Hey,
Sabine, Hosselenfelder. Epic fights in science. All right. No, there's no fights in science before we've even clicked play. Science is a method. This is a reification fallacy straight off the bat. The most epic fights in science would be the, more accurately titled, most epic fights between pseudoscientists, and they're just so stories. Because there is no fight in science, it's an empirical method. If you employ it, you know the outcome in terms of cause. That's it. There's no fighting with that. The supposition before the experiment in science, the scientific method, is that A causes B and A doesn't cause B. Hence, your hypothesis can't be an explanation. It's a supposition that A causes B and A doesn't cause B. Well, how can that be the case? It can't. Only one can be true. So when you do an experiment and vary A, it either proves the null or proves the alternative. Now, when it proves the null or proves the alternative, you've got proof in either event, haven't you, at the end of an experiment? It's either proving one or the other. Yeah, there's no arguing with that, ever. So this is the first time this has happened. Before I've even pressed... I don't know what's going on with my speech impediment today. Pressed. Let's just lick my lips. Before I have pressed the play button, the first time ever, I can pull apart this entire premise of the video before we've even watched it. Because there are no fights in science, it's an empirical method. So this, straight off the bat, this entire video is a reification fallacy. There are no fights in science. You can't argue with A causes B. Because the only alternative is A doesn't cause B, and you've proved it caused it. Or you can't argue with A doesn't cause B. well, no, it might cause it. No, I varied it and it didn't cause it. There's no fight going to happen here. I am just victorious automatically when I've got an empirical outcome behind me, which would be science. There's no fighting, ever. What we will see, as I said already, is pseudoscientists infighting, because they're just so stories don't make any sense. But you let Sabine know that, I mean, I don't know how you'd phrase it. We didn't need to watch your video, but Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me based on the reification fallacy you used. No, don't say that. You'll get your comment removed immediately. But I have put a link to Sabine's video, although we will watch it anyway. Where's the fun in just debunking it straight off the bat based on the title? There's the link to a video. Go and check her out. Let her know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, because we responded in the nicest possible way so your comment doesn't get removed. And hopefully, the main purpose in doing this is that were any of these fundamentalist religious ball-believing idiots actually respond, they'd put a link to my video. So where we are downtrodden and poor, although in the right, it still obviously helps if we have people supporting us where the algorithm does not. So hopefully, were Sabine to ever respond and say, nah, you can have fights in science, a method of empiricism, you should put my link to this video. You know, in return of the favour I've done for her, sending you to help her in the algorithm by commenting and, you know, generally appearing on her video, helping her. Hopefully she'd do the same. So let's get into it. Unless anybody's got anything to add before we start. 10th man, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I'm going to be leaving in 10 minutes, so I'll be listening in the car, but I figured you would get it right off the bat because of the title. So it's really a fight between the pseudosciences.
Perfect. So as I say, let her know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Let's get into this.
Scientists are by profession rational. They objectively evaluate the evidence and carefully separate fact from opinion.
No, don't need to separate opinion from evidence when you've got empirical evidence, because the outcome is obvious. Either A caused B or it didn't. That's it. Nothing to assess. Don't need to contrast it with opinions. Go on, whoever that was.
I would bet good money that the fight that they're talking about is going to come down to definitions of hypothesis, definitions of theory, definitions of experiment. That's what the fight's going to come down to. I have this feeling.
Just a minor thing I'd like to ask the audience. So one of the criticisms we actually have from that Globe guy, or Globe man, that we covered, was that I didn't spend long enough between stopping the video. Now, given that before I even played this video, I debunked it. I mean, I was going to say 7 seconds too short, but before it even crossed my lips, I realised, yeah, we debunked this before even pressing play now, didn't we? Was that too quick? Should we have, you know, let her hang herself for longer before pointing out that it's a reification fallacy? I mean, I just want to know in the chat, is it too quick to debunk the entire video just based on the title and its reification fallacy? Or should I, as Globeman would imply, maybe let the video run for 30 seconds of non-stop fallacies? So if you prefer that, no, we prefer you didn't stop after the first use of fallacy, point it out and then move on. We'd rather you just listen to 20 of them. I mean, let me know in the chat. Press 1 if you think, no, it's far too quick. 7 seconds, no, that's unreasonable, even though she's used a fallacy. And she's wrong. And number 2, if you're like, no, you know, just debunk it based on the title if it can debunk it on the title. So, yeah, 7 seconds too quick, number 1. Or, no, perfectly happy with you debunking it based on the title alone, number 2.
Except,
Nathan,
of course,
that's what makes this show great, because you don't let them continue with the fallacy. So stick to your guns.
I just want to, I had a criticism levelled at me, and it's by an opponent, so I only feel reasonable, at least suggesting to the audience whether or not they see it as reasonable too. You know, if Globeman's correct, and no, you only played my video for 15 seconds. Well, you did better than Sabine, let's put it that way. She got 0 seconds.
Because they don't, really. In this episode, we will talk about some epic fights among scientists that show very much that scientists are, after all, only human.
Who gives a crap? The empirical method gives you an empirical outcome if you followed it. So there'd be no need for fights if any of these idiots followed science. They don't. That's why they'll be fighting about their pseudoscience.
Who dissed whom and why? And what can we learn from that?
Dissed? Who dissed who? Come again? Dissed? Yeah, no one gives a crap. Yeah? Who dissed who? Nobody cares. What? You mean they said that their pseudoscience was wrong. Yeah, again, who cares?
That's what we'll talk about today.
Fight!
Edward Wilson passed away just a few weeks ago at age 92. He's widely regarded as one of the most brilliant biologists in history. But some of his ideas about evolution got him into trouble with another.
Oh, here we go. Some of his ideas. He's a biologist, right? So I'd assume he's employed science method at some stage of his career. However, some of the ideas he had about, well, evolution, I bet you couldn't even define it, Sabine.
The big shot of biology, Richard Dawkins. In 2012, Dawkins reviewed Wilson's book, The Social Conquest of Earth. He left no doubt about his misgivings. In his review, Dawkins wrote, "Unfortunately, one is obliged to wade through many pages of erroneous and downright perverse misunderstandings of evolutionary theory."
Oh, evolutionary theory. So it's based on the scientific method then. So we've got some cause and effect reasoning that's established in a hypothesis with both the null and the alternative. That thing I described earlier where you can't have both outcomes, followed by a variation of the presumed cause of the effect. What's the effect? Pray tell. Where have we seen this mutation from one being into a superior one? Can you show me that, please? What you can only hypothesize about it, right? You've just got a theory in colloquial terms. No, we were talking about science. This is specifically titled science. So if you've got a theory, that comes after experiment. Yeah.
Can I ask a first question?
You can wait till I've pointed out that evolutionary theory is not based in science, and it definitely is not a scientific theory. Go ahead, Neil.
But before that, when she said he had some ideas, when you do an experiment, does the end of that experiment leave you with an idea or a validation?
A validation. And the idea would be your idea of what causes the effect. And then your idea would be the A statement in the hypothesis, if A. So if your idea is A, it will be your idea of it causing B. But in the null, in the hypothesis, you'll also have a null. A doesn't cause B. So that when you vary A, you're going to prove one or the other. Yeah. Again, no fight would be needed if you had some proof of in scientific terminology. That would be scientific evidence that went on to form evolution theory. You could just throw the experiment in this guy's face. Will she do that? Absolutely not, because there's no experiment whatsoever for this. What was the word? Evolution. Yeah, I'm going to say it again. Sabine won't even be able to define that word.
In particular, Wilson now rejects kin selection and replaces it with a revival of group selection, the poorly defined and incoherent view that evolution is driven by the differential survival of whole groups of organisms. Wilson's idea of group selection is based on a paper that he wrote together with two mathematicians in 2010.
When she says group selection, what she's doing, or what they are doing, is they're working outside the convention of the taxonomic classification system. So the group is going to be one arbitrarily assigned definition for a particular type of organism. So if you take mammals versus fish, just to put it in the most broad context, right? The idea is that you look at a particular item and then define it and put it into a category. Now that categorization is the taxonomic system, right? Once you've got this arbitrarily ascribed definition for a particular thing, you can then, if you're talking about evolution, work outside of the convention. That is to say, you hypothesize that one turns into the other. That would be one arbitrarily defined and described and detailed group will turn into another group. Yeah? It's working outside of the convention. That's all this is.
When their paper was published in Nature magazine, it attracted criticism from more than 140 evolutionary biologists, among them some big names in the field. In his
But not one of them offered up scientific methodology. Wow, shocking.
review, Dawkins also said that Wilson's paper...
Notice I don't need to concern myself that that statement I just made will be in any way challenged in the next 15 minutes. Why? Well, because I already know there's no scientific validity for it. So I can say, what, the 140 scientists didn't throw up any scientific methodology to back their objections. No, they didn't, and I already know. So Sabine won't be, I won't be sweating here thinking, oh, well, I hope she doesn't come up with some actual science here. She won't.
Probably would never have been published if Wilson hadn't been so famous. That Wilson then ignored the criticism and published his book pretending nobody disagreed with him was,
see, like, as opposed to ignored the scientific methodology was offered. Just words offered by peers. Like, who cares? Just words. Oh, the criticisms. All right, they didn't like it. All right. Did any of them offer any empirical evidence to challenge him with? The challenging of the nonsense he came up with based on not nonsense that the other scientists are going to talk about that disagrees with him, but empirical methodology based, that's science, evidence. No, they didn't do that, did they? No, definitely not. Shout out to Godzilla37. This super chat is for Neil. I had to do something. Thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate the support, Godzilla.
was to Dawkins an act of wanton arrogance. Dawkins finished.
No, wanton arrogance as opposed to challenging scientific established facts.
His review, to borrow from Dorothy Parker, this is not a book to be tossed lightly aside. It should be thrown with great force and sincere regret. Wilson replied that his theory was mathematically more sound than that of...
Sorry, what was that? Mathematically more sound? So what's this word in your title, Sabine? Is it maths? The most epic fights in maths? Is that what it says? This one's for free. Says Godzilla37. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Yeah, I thought we were talking about science, Sabine. Am I missing something? Why would he qualify this fight about how mathematically valid it was? I thought it was science. Are you lying to us about what these fights are about? Because it seems like this fight's going to be about maths, not science. Do you understand the difference, Sabine, between science, as you've used it in your title, versus maths? It doesn't seem like you do. It just seems like you're lying to me. I don't appreciate that. I would prefer that somebody who's got a considerable more subscribers than I, like 819,000 subscribers. I'd expect you not to lie to your audience. When you say there's going to be a fight in science, I'd expect to see some different scientific validity going up against each other, i.e. science. But this is validity based on mathematics. That's an outrage. You're just lying to your audience, Sabine. You're a shit. There's no other way to describe it. Don't title your video about fights in science when you're going to detail fights in maths. You're in a completely wrong genre. Talk about science, love. That's what I came for. I saw it in your title. That was me thinking we were going to talk about the science of the scientific method and how things oppose other things. Unlikely. But here we are talking about the mathematical validity. I just feel cheated. I've got to be honest. I mean, I don't know how the audience feels. I'm doing a lot of straw polls at the moment. Press 1 if you feel that you have been lied to, deceived, cheated by Sabine when she told you that they were going to be detailing scientific fights and how she is detailing mathematical fights. Do you feel cheated? Type 1. If you feel that she's perfectly reasonable and maths is science, then type 2. But if you feel cheated and wronged and like she's scum, just type 1. We'll get a little straw poll of how scummy the rest of the audience feels about this deceit. Where you're labelling mathematics science. Shout out to us so far. It says, hello, Dave McKeegan and Planner Walk offered rebuttal to your video 2 months ago. Did you do a response? I wasn't able to verify their claim. Great show. I don't know about Planner Walk, but Dave McKeegan did a response and it did get verbally addressed. I didn't trim it out and put it as a separate video. It wasn't worth our time. But it did get addressed in one of the live streams when he did a response to my response to his video. So yeah, that did. Planner Walk. Oh, funny. I don't know what to say about Planner Walk. I mean, if he's made a video about me, then great. Thanks for the advert. Okie dokie.
Just real quick about your straw poll and being cheated. To be honest, I would have felt cheated if she hadn't gone down that route, because I was expecting that. Like, of course they're going to go to mathematical equations and nonsense, abstract bullshit. Of course they are, because they don't have any actual scientific experiments to validate. So I don't feel cheated. I feel right where I should be. Thanks, Sabine.
Yeah, thanks. A big, massive shout out to everyone who did the straw poll. It seems that the residing number of the audience thinks that they've been cheated by this claim of scientific fights when you're detailing mathematical fights. You know, you should subject titles, Sabine, obviously not your strong point, being called a liar for it, and the audience agrees with me. I mean, they are my audience. They're definitely biased. Let's be honest. There we go. Anyway, shout out to FE Patriot. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. You couldn't have given me a better compliment. It says, my daily commutes have never been so interesting. Thank you so much. That is a really big compliment. Thank you for the super chat also. I really appreciate the financial support. Just had a text from my bank telling me I'm overdrawn. Thank you very much.
Selection, and that he also had a list of names who supported his idea, but he said, if science depended on rhetoric and polls, we would still be burning objects with phlogiston and navigating with geocentric maps. In a 2014 BBC...
Sorry, where do the maps define the celestial movements other than to define them with the grid system that's been derived from Polaris? Am I missing something? When she says geocentric, how are the maps heliocentric? Have I missed something? Can anybody explain to me how that statement makes sense unless the maps, specifically as detailed, are actually functionally heliocentric? Can anybody show me a functionally heliocentric map?
No, it's absolutely impossible to find a functionally heliocentric map. What she said makes absolutely no sense. It wouldn't be possible to make one.
What's she babbling about?
Who knows? Our lack of understanding of maps and how they are created.
I mean, in regards to phlogiston, you know, something that had no scientific validity offered to it, explanations and just so stories that turn out to not be true because they haven't had any science applied to them. Yeah, I agree with you, love, but throwing phlogiston under the bus when you don't have any scientific validity either isn't really a good move, is it? Another shout out to Godzilla37. My daily commutes have never been more expensive. And I don't mean the super chats. Oh, right. I thought you did mean the super chats. Thank you very much for the super chat, Godzilla. I'm sorry your commutes cost so much money. This isn't making it any cheaper for you, let's be honest.
Wilson said,
there is no dispute between me and Richard Dawkins, and never has been, because he's a journalist. And journalists are people who report what the scientists have found. And the arguments I've had have actually been with scientists.
Right after Wilson passed away, Dawkins tweeted, sad news of death of Ed Wilson, great entomologist, ecologist, greatest myrmecologist, invented sociobiology, pioneer of island biogeography, genial humanist.
Biogeography. And what was the other one? This sounds like a lot of list of pseudosciences, I've got to be honest.
In biophiliac, Crawford and Pulitzer Prizes, great Darwinian, single exception, blind.
Darwinian, eh? Right, so lots and lots of pseudoscience.
Got overkin selection, RIP.
Like, where was the science? Other than the quote where the guy was trying to lay some smack down by saying, no, I actually argue with actual scientists. So even he, your cited source, made it clear that the argument wasn't science-based. So even your own clip of your own guy made it explicitly clear that in his impression, they weren't arguing about science. So when I did a straw poll, not only was I right to call you on your deceit, Sabine, you even put a clip in that made it absolutely clear. He didn't even think they were arguing about science, did he? But yet this is titled Science. Oh, my God. Fight!
Newton and Leibniz were both instrumental in the development of differential calculus, but they approached...
Calculus? Calculus? Anybody want to categorize calculus? Is it science? Anybody at all?
Sounds like math.
Sounds like maths to me.
The topic entirely differently. Newton came at it from a physical perspective and thought about the changes of variables.
Variables? As in independent and dependent variables, cause and effect reasoning based on systematic experimentation after formulating a hypothesis with an alternative and null? Those sort of variables? No, definitely not.
With time.
Time? Is that a variable? You can manipulate time? Is that a variable?
Leibniz had a more abstract, analytical approach.
Abstract like the language of maths? So when you say he had an abstract approach, definitely not science then, Sabine. Boop. Are you dumb? Your own words are telling you that these people aren't arguing within the physical and natural world. It's abstract. Is she dumb? Is she thick? Why am I getting so annoyed about this?
He looked at general variables x and y that could take on infinitely close.
X and Y? Is that something physical? Is that something variable and manipulatable in the physical reality we experience by you, the researcher? Like a variable in science would be? You know, when I say A, I mean a physically capable of being manipulated by you, the researcher, and simultaneously the cause of the effect. And it must be real. That's what I mean.
Values. Leibniz introduced dx and dy as differences between successive values of these sequences.
Sounds like maths.
The two men also had a completely different attitude to science communication.
So science communication? Yeah, like the other guy just pointed out to you. Journalism, you mean? Yeah, communicating science is reporting the outcome. Yeah, A proved B. Yeah, that's what it was. Well, could it have not proved B? No, it definitely caused it. Yeah, we varied A, it caused B. Go and report it, write it down. That's your job in this communicator of science. Maybe they mean the Mick West science communicator. What, you mean pseudoscience? Bullshit communication, where lots of just so stories need to be compiled by men of great stature when it comes to bullshit. A science communicator just needs to write down A caused B. Yeah, that's it. That's communicating science.
Leibniz put a lot of thought into the symbols he used and how he explained himself.
Symbols?
Newton, on the other hand...
That doesn't sound like science. Symbols? What, symbology? Why are you lying to us? Why are you telling us that this is an argument in science? Symbology? No, love. No. Varying and manipulating physical things to cause physical effects. That's science.
Wrote mostly for himself and often used whatever notation he liked on that day. Because of this, Leibniz's notation was much easier to generalize to multiple variables, and much of the notation we use in calculus today goes back to Leibniz.
Multiple variables, like so totally outside the purview of science then, like independent variable, the cause of the effect you're trying to prove. So this definitely is so far removed from science, it's untrue, because it's maths.
Though the notation x dot for speed and x double dot for acceleration that we use in physics comes from Newton.
Do I need to read out the Feynman quote? The laws of Newton... the laws of motion of Newton were not right. Richard Feynman. So they're laws of nature, are they? No, they weren't right. Right, highly capitalised. Super chat from Original D-Rose. Nathan did what's necessary, critiquing and exposing Globe Boy's short clip. Now, can you do the same for his weak reply he left, even misquoting your orthographic breakdown of the distance of the cow? I mean, yeah, I could do that in 25 seconds, but thank you for the super chat, D-Rose. We're on a slight segue. Okay, so what D-Rose is talking about with that super chat is the fact that in an orthographic view of the world, when you're asserting that a horizon's an earth curve edge getting in the way of a cow, then the orthographic view does not take into account perspective. How can I prove this? Okay, well, as things move into the distance, the angle to them reduces. They get smaller. It's very simple. It's called perspective. Okie dokie. What about in earth curve maths? No, it doesn't do that in earth curve maths now, does it? Why? Well, because the target is always given an actual size. Now, in reality, we don't see in actual size, as we discussed earlier with the sun. We see in apparent size. That's not actual size. Yeah? So you can hold your hand right close to your face. Let's all do that now. And check it out. It takes up your entire field of vision. It's all you can see. It's enormous. Yeah, but then you move it away and it doesn't take anywhere near as much of your vision up, does it? Yeah, that's because it's apparent size in reality. That's angular size. Now, a cow, described as being 4 feet, in Muppet Vision Earth curve maths, will never change. It will always be 4 feet. So you can draw a straight line between you and the cow, write 1 million miles on it, and based on the hijacking of perspective Muppet Vision Earth curve maths, the cow's still visible at 1 million miles. Well, how can we make the cow disappear? Well, we just bend it round and put a hill in the way, and then the cow's gone because of the hill. No, things get smaller until they disappear completely. It's called perspective. Yeah, vanishing point? That's not a hill getting in the way. Yeah, that's how they've hijacked perspective. You see the side of your own head and a horizon that isn't spanning the field of your view. It's a single point. But you can also see all of the cow. But the dotted line shows that it's cut in half, even though you can see all of it on the diagram. Why? Well, because you're 18,000 miles away from Earth, looking at it side on, suddenly, and looking at yourself, looking at a dotted line. Yeah, that just removes perspective. Then you can label the cow as being 4 feet, and then put it on a not-to-scale diagram with 7,000 miles of Earth curve between you and the cow, and a dotted line saying, look, bottom of it's missing. No, it's got very small. At 7,000 miles, the chances of you seeing a cow are 0. But in this diagram, the only reason the cow has gone is because a hill debunked in 2020 got in the way. Oh, really? What, with the geometry and the tangent point that we debunked? You know, what, notwithstanding the fact that we can show the horizon beyond things it's supposed to block if it's a hill. Yeah, hills don't move beyond the things they block. It's absurd. Meanwhile, stuff does definitely get smaller until the point it disappears. That definitely happens. But what, you can show me a side profile of an Earth curve edge that's a single point blocking the cow, and if it wasn't for the hill getting in the way, we'd still see it? Yeah, that's why we call it Muppet Vision. 2 reasons. 1, you see in the side of your own head. 2, Muppets use it. Okay, hopefully that justified the $10 of Super Chat. Go ahead.
Imagine being grown in 2023 and having to be told that things look like they get smaller as they go away from you. Imagine that.
Elvis Kavovic says, someone wants to make a perspective calculator. Why? The only reason we've got an Earth curve calculator is because they need to make the positive assertion that we've got an Earth curve. So if they can beg the question that they've got an Earth curve by putting it on the title, and then hijacking an effect like perspective, they can make the argument that you need to justify how their maths works. I'm not claiming the horizon as being useful in regards to how things disappear at a point of dissolution based on aperture or angle to the deck. I'm not interested in making any claims about that, so why would I offer up a perspective calculator? I haven't got something riding on it. The globe has got their entire paradigm riding on it, so they damn well need a calculator to make their positive assertion and hope that we'll argue within it. Well, once I've debunked that, and I have, I say we, every person here on the panel, has debunked that. Well, once that's happened, I don't need to offer up any explanation for what the horizon does in that regard. What I can do is point out the horizon is used to establish a horizontal baseline. That's a flat Earth. That's what I'll use the horizon for, as opposed to presenting perspective. No, I don't need to do that. I spent about 2 years learning about it, as I detailed in the pre-show. In regards to what I'll use that information for, embarrassing idiots like Globe Man. That's what I'll use that information for. So they say cows can be seen so long as they're bright enough at a scale of about 7,000 miles. The only reason it's gone is Earth curves got in the way. Yeah. Dick, we've been here since 2014. I don't think we've come across Metabunk or Walter Bislin's bloody Earth curve calculator. It's the first thing we got into and debunked. Literally the first thing we started arguing about. But you think you can just type in Earth curve, present it up and tell me that the cow, so long as bright enough and the hill's not in the way, you're high enough, you'll see it. Yeah, Dougal, wake up and smell the perspective. Yeah, we've been here since 2014. Idiot. Hopefully that was enough for you, D-Rose. Back to our scheduled programming.
Sorry.
Good.
Yeah, this globe man, he seems to have a wicked problem with awful problems with optical phenomenon. He's arguing against the existence, because that's what he's actually doing. He's arguing against the existence of angular size change and perspective. And he also doesn't know what the Coriolis effect is. He thinks that's an actual deviation of wind. Like, this guy literally doesn't understand optical phenomena. That's really where his problem is. Isn't it? Because that's what he's argued against, isn't it, in these past two videos?
Yeah.
Optical phenomena.
But by optical reality, you mean observed reality?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, these people have a struggle with observed reality. Oh, right, he's told me that there's a cow that's going to get to port. What does he do? Does he go out and look at what a cow does? No. He goes to Google and asks Walter Bislin. All right, great discernment. Yeah? Have you put it into practical application with your own bloody eyeballs? Obviously not. Did we all do that? Yeah. Did we all spend ages sliding toys along tables? Yeah. Yeah, back in 2015 we did, yeah. Yeah, quite a long time ago now. So, do you not think we immediately started to wrap our heads around how the world worked? We offered up those videos, and all they were taken as, because we were dumb, was a reason to argue with us in false dichotomy against the curve calculator. Yeah, this is many years ago. Now, I'm not just talking to Globe Man, I'm talking to any of the idiots that suddenly find themselves on the scene and go, of course it's a globe! And then go to Google! You're like, my God, no! Why don't you go out into the physical reality that's on offer, like we did? Yeah, so we are all smiles. Other than the poverty and the, being downtrodden and left behind in the algorithm and all the other downsides that come to it, I still sleep like a baby. Even though the heating's broken here and it's very cold. But you know what I'm getting at. Despite all the negativity, which will be used against me as well, you need an elevation angle measurement for that. Earth must be flat. You're poor! That's what we get, right? Even that gets used against us. But I sleep well, because I know I'm in the right. As for your average Joe Fundy, who comes across this subject at the point they're at the top of the hill, right? They're just blissfully unaware, oh, look, check it out, there's flat earthers. Are the idiots? Google search.
I mean, obviously this guy is very serious. He called himself Globe Man. So, yeah, we should take him extremely seriously.
Just people should realise it's because we're so... in Devil's Advocate, when Al Pacino's telling him about taking the public transport instead of driving a flash beamer, he's like, don't be that guy. Be a surprise. And then he's like, I'm the hand up Mona Lisa's skirt. That's what we are. Why? Well, because the general consensus is we're dumb. Okay, fine. We knew that from the moment we got here. Yeah, the moment you start asking questions about how it could be, you're demanded to give answers to people who tell you they already know when you found out how wrong they were. Well, you give me the new answer. Oh, it doesn't work. Still a globe. Ha ha ha. That's what you end up facing initially. Okay, we can all deal with that. The negativity that goes along with it. But for your average Joe like Globe Man, who's at the top of the hill, absolutely elated with life, knows it's a globe, finds out there's flat earthers, he hasn't got the slightest idea that we've been slogging our guts out in debate for years on end, finding every single crack and flaw in the argument only to try and fill it in, and then have the globe believer / anti-flat earther try and dig it back out again, open up the cracks. And we've done that process. But he doesn't know that, does he? He just sees, oh, look, random YouTuber that's responded. What's he saying? Perspective? I know that's not true. Do you? Really? It's not like you just
funny,
walk
right?
straight into a massive bear trap laid by someone who's been in this subject for years.
That's funny. You're right. We've been sitting here for how many years with every fallacy known to man thrown at us at some point or another in defense of this globe. And we're still here. And they haven't proven anything.
Like 7 or 8 years for some of the people in this subject. Now, from day one, yeah, Flad, yeah, just here to muddy the waters of 9/11 truth. Yeah, they won't be here long. Yeah, dying subject. Really? And yet I managed to juxtapose your average dumb globe believer with the likes of Dougal, with Father Ted explaining how cows get smaller in the distance. That shouldn't be possible, should it? And it would be much more to our disadvantage if we were promoted in that regard. We wouldn't be the hand up Mona Lisa's skirt. We wouldn't be a surprise. He wouldn't be now scratching his arse going, what the hell happened? How is it that I'm looking dumb in this? We just done a globe and everybody knows it, and yet the flat earthers made me look stupid. How the hell has this happened? That's what's going to happen, time and time again. Other than the people who've been around here, they're the ones in the comments going, it's so unfair. How can you call yourself a debate show? Easily. Yeah? Someone comes along and says, we've got Earth curve, it's blocking cows. And then I ask, could it have not got too small to see? And the reply from the numpty globe believer is, no! Only Earth curve can block cows. Yeah, very unfair if you've already experienced that. Yeah? Globe Man will be looking for an excuse not to be humiliated by me. And he'll watch a few of the old shows and go, Nathan mutes his guests. Oh, really? Oh, well, then bugger off. It's not like you've been humiliated. It's not like if you had a winning argument, you could come and hand me my own ass on my own show. Now, for everybody who was in a position to actually win, they'd love to do that, and they did initially, because they all came in en masse and handed me my ass, much to their pleasure, right? They can't do that anymore. Nobody comes here and wins, because you can't win. The Earth's flat. Every single measurement that you'll ever actually do on the Earth will direct you to that fact. So you think you're going to get around this by telling me I'm poor or telling me that you've got a bloody Walter Bisling calculator? You're like, no. I don't think any of us would have been here for 8 years if it was very easy to debunk our arguments. We wouldn't still be here, let's be honest. Why is the globe still here? I ask myself. And sometimes I ponder the idea. Why is it still here? Well, because they're very good at keeping people under control, including us. And anybody else that disagrees with their general narrative, in this case a control method, that's called the globe. There to keep you under control, and you brace against us trying to release you from those shackles, don't you? It's pathetic. Well, I don't want to release you anymore. You're the guy chained to the wall, screaming at me about how wrong I am as I walk free. Yeah, spitting at me. That's what you're doing. Fine. But you want to call me over and have a little discussion when I'm the one holding the hammer and chisel that could free you from your chains. And you want to throw mud at me while I try and chisel away at them. Well, sod it, I've given up, basically. I don't want to chisel at his chains anymore. Yeah? I'll just mock them as they lie chained against the wall. Maybe they can't see those chains. I don't care. I'm not going to point them out to them. I'm going to say, well, why does it matter? Why would they lie? To keep your dumb ass well and truly under control, that's why. Just accept it. Yeah, you don't see the chains. Oh, good for you. Carry on with your blissful ignorance, Dumbo. What's that? The sky's blue because... No, I don't care. Yeah, you're just parroting off the crap that we've already figured out is wrong. And you don't want to hear how it's wrong, do you? Oh, well. Carry on being chained to that wall. Me, I'm buggering off with the chisel and the hammer. Because I'm not interested in tapping away at your chains. Anybody got anything to add before I round out for the after show?
Yeah, they latch on to things like Walter Bisling's calculator. And Walter Bisling is obviously adding perspective, only the amount he needs to add to make it look like it's part of their globe claim, into his globe depictions, while making a complete straw man, flat earth depiction. What he's trying to do is just trying to make his globe version look as much like reality as possible. But perspective and all the effects of perspective are not part of the globe mathematics. There is no frontal perspective view in globe mathematics. There is only orthographic view and orthographic calculation. There is no angular size change, no optical drop, no visual occultation. None of these things take place in their mathematics.
And with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smash the Super Chat and PayPal link. Joined as a member for free, potentially. Thank you very much indeed again for smashing out those free memberships. Liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on After Show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Presupposing it first. I mean, did anybody imagine that would be the case? Like the same guy telling us that our baseline is flat? I didn't think that'd be the case, but here we are. Quite weird.
I love how you point that out. What's up, yo?
What up, my dude? How you feeling, man?
Pretty good, man. What's up?
Well, isn't this nice?
Why is it so quiet, yo?
It's your fault,
I
Eli.
was just having a moment of silence for the globe, the dearly departed globe.
Is that?
Thanks, dude.
Did you hear the question I posed earlier, Nathan?
Probably. Can you repeat it?
I was just saying, did you ever imagine, like, when we started this, like, 8 years ago, that in 2023, in the future, from that point, that we would have people actually coming in and, like, as we were trying to get all the Globers back then to just concede that they were presupposing R for all their claims. And now we have in 2023 mathematicians come in and tell us how, oh yeah, I mean, would it even make sense to try to calculate or measure R without that assumption? And along with that, our baseline is flat. Did you imagine that would be happening in 2023?
I don't know if I imagined that I'd get confessions based on the progress that we'd made, but I knew it would be an evergreen subject. You know what I mean? I knew that the subject would never have, it would never run out of stuff to talk about, like computing or, you know, stuff that's constantly got new products coming out. The same is true for Flat Earth, that there's never going to be a limit to the roads and avenues that you can explore based on this subject. So at the time I say computing because that was the other option I was considering, doing a channel on computing. Even though I hate computers, I know a fair bit about them. That was one of the options. But you look at the arena, there's so many videos being made about computers. There's so many people fighting to get the information out before anybody else. And I just thought I was just too saturated. Then Flat Earth comes along and you're like, nobody's covering this. A brand new, uncovered, evergreen subject. I'm in. I'm all in. Literally, I gave up my job. Now I'm full-time on YouTube just on that basis. Because I knew what it was the moment I recognised it immediately as an evergreen subject.
That's
So,
awesome.
in a way, yes, is the answer. But no, I didn't know it would be specifically at the point where we'd have university-grade mathematicians telling us, yeah, of course it's measured flat. Well, obviously, we've got to assume it's a sphere to move on with it being assumed to be a sphere. But yeah, we measure it flat.
If you think about it, they've always been saying that. Just we didn't hear it.
Maybe. They were too busy arguing in false dichotomy, if you ask me.
My prediction, Chocolate, is that the next argument that's coming our way is because there's going to be more than him admit that they must pre-assume it's the globe. Because there's already been Phil Bell who stated, well, yes, of course we must pre-assume a radius or blah, blah, it's a globe.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Well, yes, of course we must. So the next is going to be, the argument from their side is going to be, but Chocolate, why do we pre-assume it's a globe if it's not a globe?
Nathan
That's the next argument.
Nathan does still True peace impersonation effect. Come on, Nathan, give us it. How does he say it? Nathan Oakley.
Well, Nathan Oakley says, we have to assume it's a globe. Well, yes!
I couldn't believe that when I first heard it. Was that his first outing out here? Like,
it was one of his earlier videos.
Yeah, it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot on your first outing out here.
That's how they behave.
Kind of like sensible.
Nah, it wasn't his first rodeo. Don't make it out like it was his first video, because I don't think it was. But by the same token, you think the first person to admit that they've got to beg the question of to start assuming that they can prove that the Earth's a sphere, well, that was Mick West. It was like pulling teeth. Then after that, it was a bit easier, and then a little bit easier, and now we've got Matthew coming along. Oh yeah, of course we've got to assume R. You know, now it's really easy. But the very first one, to get somebody to that point, you know, although we didn't have an exemplary knowledge, Anthony Riley and myself had to know enough to get him into the corner to admit that he needed to assume R, Mick West, that is. And then from there, the floodgates are open. You can't start denying it after that point. So they didn't. They just take it on board, take the loss. Yeah, we've got to beg the question. Well, that's a total loss immediately. What are you doing? Well, I'm going to concede to that because I know it's got to be conceded to that we're going to be assuming our outcome. A logical fallacy. We have to progress like that, and we understand that. Like you say, Chocolate, the next step is, well, of course we assume the Earth's a sphere when we measure it flat. It's not a globe. But in order for me to assume it is, that'll be the next step. You know, an understanding at a base level that it is flat and we function on it flat. But I still want to assume it's a globe anyway because the world thinks it's a globe and we're told it's a globe. So in order to do that, mental gymnastics, knowing that it is flat, but believing we're on a sphere, I assume R, and then go through the Haversine formula and put it on a ball and then just forget about the angles, and then laugh at you because you use a map that's come from that. So that's how I do it. They'll just be confessing to every little thing we've had them concede over the years, before then saying, but it's still a ball. And then we trim it out. Yeah, they'll go, you missed out the bit at the end. What, the bit where after telling us how flat you accept it to be and how much you assume to get to the point where you can believe it's a sphere, but afterwards you said, but it's still a ball, and we didn't include that, so you're going to call cherry picking. That's how it'll go on.
Yeah, but Nathan, just because I pre-assume that it's a globe doesn't mean that it's not a globe. That's what's coming.
Just because I've employed a logical fallacy doesn't mean it's fallacious.
The reason why the Mick West jump off was, I think, a little extra special was because he wasn't like regular globetard from off the street, you know, just found his way, stumbled into here from the internet. Like, he's part of, he might not be like a high priest like Neil deGrasse, but he's part of the narrative. He's part, like, they know him, he knows them, he runs in their circles, right? All the Globers that would come in here, they would pull out his little metabunk nonsense to try to go against us. So for him to actually come in here and be the first to really state, yeah, well, R is a presupposition of the standard model, I think that was extra special. So thanks, Mick West, years later. Appreciate that.
Yeah, those were some of the moments. Those were some of the moments that got us to where we are now, where we can go, wow, did you ever imagine that someone would just admit that they've got to beg the question to get to their position? Well, no, because we didn't know how much we'd have to push someone like Mick West to get him to admit it first. And he definitely didn't want to, did he? But now, yeah, we're at that point, and I'm sure other things that are incredibly difficult to argue now, like Coriolis effect, will be second nature in 5 years from now. Where people are coming in, yeah, I understand there's only one reference frame in my argument and Coriolis is 2. But on the globe, and so, you know, that's how it'll be in a few years.
You and your reference frames are ruined. Thanks, Dan.
Oh my God.
I would predict more repetition. This Father Ted sketch has had me go back. I remember using this, making the same point. So I looked up when it was, when I first put that on an Iron Realm like loop feed, and it was November 2018. So that's 4.5 years ago, we were making this point. It's died down, and we're back to the same point, which is small cow, normal cow far away. Point was made 4.5 years ago, and it's back for you having to reiterate that point to a so-called educated man. I'm suggesting another 4 years, he may come back up again, Dougal.
Exactly.
Hey, Adam. Well, the thing about it is that what they do is they respawn themselves as much as they possibly can, and then when they get wore out, they bring in new, fresh meat like this globe man, some complete innocent, basically, is what the guy is, and he rehashes the argument that was tore apart 4 years ago. So they're trying to wear us out by continually coming up with the same argument, but from a new face. And that's what it is. It's like a constant changing of the face, but the argument stays the same. You know, that. So I think you're right about that.
Well, we're back. You just mentioned Nathan's massive win. I mean, that was epic at the time. Absolutely epic. When you got Mick West on and destroyed him. And that was a massive win for us, I think, as flat earthers, to hear that. That was one of the first, because he was their boy. It wasn't Neil deGrasse. We weren't dealing with stuff, but he was the guy they were spouting. He was the guy that was on Joe Rogan that was supporting him. So to get him to make that admission was pretty massive. I don't think we'll get out much more like that. That absolutely destroys them. The guy they cite admitting that it's assumptions.
Yeah, now it's easy.
The Walter Bisley never joined, Nathan.
No.
Nah.
I didn't think he ever did.
Nah.
Because the first thing to say to him is, why are you showing, I suppose, a globe in perspective, frontal perspective view? Why are you adding perspective? What's that got to do with the globe maths?
No, I wouldn't.
That's exactly
like
where
that.
I go straight away.
That's not how I'd phrase it if Walter Bisley came on. I'd say, check out this maths, right? I'd bring up his calculator with the perspective view, and I'd show something reducing in size in it. And I go, okay, can you show me that angular change in the maths, please? That's all I do. And when he goes, oh no, that's part of that's just for diagrammatic. That's what he'd do. Just stutter his way around the fact that it's not in the maths. Can't be. And when he tried to lie about it, I go, okay, so when I input the value for the target, it won't be the same value regardless of distance. It won't always be 8 foot for every target, or 100 foot if it's a building, and that will remain the same. That's not the case. You actually input an angular size, do you, into this calculation? Just watch him squirm and lie.
Yeah, because he's like, at least Mick West is portraying the globe correctly in orthographic view with no angular size change, no perspective involved. But Walter Bisley has spent years portraying what he's trying to claim is the globe, when all he's trying to do is add kind of from a diagram type of stance, some kind of curve into something that looks some kind of real, into something that looks like a real observation. Just continually adding in things, adding things that are not part of his math constantly. You know, not just perspective, but adding in other things. The guy is a complete fraud, total and utter fraud.
Whether it's Bisley or Mick West, it doesn't really matter, because fundamentally we've got them by the short and curlies, because every part of their argument starts with Earth curve creating the obstruction. That's fundamental in either of their mathematics. The reason we don't see is Earth curve obstruction, and that's rigid. That's fixed. They can try and move it, like you say, with apologetics, but Fundamentally, that's a fixed thing. And that's
true. Yeah.
They're screwed at that point. The second they want to define the horizon as a limitation due to geometric curve, I'm happy to accept that claim and move forward rapidly with them stuck on that claim. Black Swan, Mr. Bislin.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to. We used to whisper it.
Black Swan.
But that guy is such a Nick. Sorry, Chocolate, for ruining your Black Swan whisper.
It's okay.
That guy is such a fraud that he's taken the Black Swan image and he's shown it. He shows it as one of his. If you go into his website, you can go through it, and he's showing how it happens on a globe. Now that's ridiculous. I think it's 148 over 6 hours or something they must add for that observation alone. But he's showing how it happens on a globe. You know, that's what he's that dishonest or that deluded, one or the other. He's showing how the horizon is not geometric on a globe. That's what he's showing.
Well, that's him standing with his boys, right? Because after the Black Swan, all of a sudden, we've never seen the geometric horizon. The geometric horizon is the horizon that you would expect to see. We can't see the geometric horizon because we have an atmosphere, wherever that is. So I'd say he's falling right in line with his boys.
And
Black Swan hurts you.
I can see through hills.
Yeah. No hill in the lake. I love that guy.
And if there was, maybe the next time you look, it'll be behind whatever it's claimed to be obscuring. I mean, hills do that.
On a clear day, you can see everything behind a hill.
If it's really clear, I can see straight through it. And potentially the hill itself will be behind the thing it was obstructing. I mean, that's normal. What's that you say? We need a physical geometric tangent point to claim the maths?
I don't think they get that. If the horizon is not geometric, then any claim of blockage doesn't mean anything because it's not a geometric blockage, so it has nothing to do with physical Earth curving. They don't get that simple fact. It's that simple. I mean, a refracted blockage means nothing. That's the same as an inferior mirage blocking the bottom of something. Like, who cares? You know, sinking. You know, that's another optical phenomenon. You know, sinking. That's not our curve either. You know, so you're telling me that something that's akin to inferior mirage, sinking, stooping, towering, you're telling me that something akin to that you've made up is blocking something in the distance. What has any of that got to do with physical Earth curve? Nothing.
Yep. Them claiming there's no geometric horizon. That's rest in peace, the little story of boats going over the curve, guys. Like, it's literally you burying that story in the ground. But
Yeah,
we
don't
appreciate
get that.
Thanks.
They really don't get that. Like I say, even the ones that claim themselves to be smart, like Ruhif, like, yeah, how's that geometric horizon working out for you? It starts off as a joke, but it's like, no, seriously. Do you still not get this? You haven't got one anymore, right? I mean, it's been 3 years with that guy.
I don't think that pennies drop properly. I think it's it just exists in the maths, as if that absolves them.
Yeah, like exactly. That's what I was trying to get at with the R thing. Well, we've got to assume R. Sorry, that's not a defense, Dumbo.
Yeah,
but it kind of is though, because look what happened with Sabine, as she went to try to go talk about science, and she automatically started talking about mathematics, right? That's what they do. Like math is the crutch. It's like the stitching for the warm blanket of consensus. That's what the math is. That's why Rumpus will just very simply say, well, your geometric horizon only exists in the math. Oh, okay. That means your boats and your buildings being blocked at a distance being blocked by math? I mean, that checks out for you? Okay. Sounds like a religion.
Yes.
But have fun with that.
Oh, math is physical. It can block things.
Arwen, I'm going to hit you with a bag of fives, bro.
Thanks. I can use one of those.
That's what they say, right?
Well,
they say math is reality, right?
Just because his name came up there a few minutes ago, Ruhif I would consider to be head and shoulders ahead of, intellectually, ahead of majority of the borders. And I mean, when I say majority, I'm talking about almost all of them. There's only a couple of them out there, I would say, that would match him intellectually. And even he he won't accept or can't accept that it's illogical, the argument he's making.
Won't. Definitely won't, not can't.
Yeah, because every time I deal with Ruhif, he comes with something. It's not some BS statement or whatever. He doesn't even, I don't even remember him using a whole lot of straw man arguments. He just comes with something, and it's normally he brings maths or something. So he puts you in a position where you have to deal with whatever he's bringing at you. Right? We don't have to, but I'm just saying, gives you something. So that tells me that his arguments are stronger than the rest of theirs. The rest of his sorry, most of the time. But then it comes to the simple thing. It's like, if it's not physical, then who cares what it's blocking? Who cares if it blocks something now and again, or if the horizon is in front of something or behind something? That's proving that it can't be a globe. It can't be a globe because it would have to be. On a globe, the horizon has to be geometric. There's no way around it.
Stop. That's where the problem happens. At the point where they've had their arms and legs chopped off like the Black Knight, and they're saying, "Come back, I'll bite your legs off," you're still saying to them, "No, mate. On a globe, you'd have to have the tangent point." In other words, they don't know when they've lost. So you point out that your Earth curve obstruction only exists in the maths. Let's just say that one more time. Earth curve only exists in the maths. What does that tell you? It tells you it doesn't exist in physical reality. Or, to put it another way, they've lost. That's the end of the argument. What do? Yeah, but we've still got Earth curve. No, it only exists in the maths. No, the one in the maths that only exists in the maths creates the one we see. So the one that only exists in the maths is refracted to the point where you can't measure it, paradoxically, to give us the one we see. The one we can't see that doesn't exist anywhere beyond this pen and paper maths creates the one we can see. Okay? What was the word we came with? Delusional. There's no arguing with them. They've lost.
It doesn't mean it's not a horizon.
Yeah, right. There's no rationalizing with somebody that is this delusional at that point. It's the Black Knight. He's had his arms and legs chopped off. He's lost. No, come back, I'll bite your legs off. That's them. That's the anti-flat earth. They don't know when they've lost.
Right, just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there, right? It's the horizon you can't see. And they can calculate it, but you can never see it, right? Even though it is a visibility-based phenomenon of horizon, but I mean, you can't see that one, that visible-based phenomenon, optical phenomenon.
When literally the story that's used is both in distance is being blocked by a physical thing. Really? And now you want to talk to us about perspective. Again, boat and distance being blocked by Earth curve, which is supposed to be physical.
Yes.
Now that old wives' tale has become very detrimental to you guys, and I get that. But it's like, the more you continue to tell us about how it's just optical, we just have to welcome you to flat Earth, I guess. I mean, you keep doing it, but it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but you just don't
What?
see the geometric horizon, but it is there, right? Because otherwise, why would it be so flat looking if not for terrestrial refraction making it look like that? But
No, Arwen.
geometrically, it is below where we see it, right?
No, Arwen, you're missing
Yeah,
a big, massive begging the question, Passy. If the geometric horizon wasn't there, then how did we end up with a refracted horizon? Right? That's it's a delta x, begging the question, Passy, because you're appealing to the delta of the x being the geometric horizon. The delta of that would be within their paradigm would be a refracted horizon. So their answer to that is if the geometric horizon doesn't exist, right? Then how come we have a refracted horizon?
But
So
it
they're begging
does
the question
exist.
that it's a refracted position.
They don't claim it doesn't exist. You just can't see it, right? You can only really find it in the math. It does exist.
Okay, Baldwin.
You say it moves via refraction, terrestrial refraction, Arwen, which I'll happily give you. What's moving?
Sorry, say that again.
So what's moving via what's being moved via terrestrial refraction?
The light pathway. It curves.
What, like the light pathway of what?
Of light traveling between you and what you're observing.
Okay, and the horizon is rendered how? Just optically, or has it got anything to do with the shape, the surface?
Well, the end result, of course, is definitely going to be rendered optically, and perspective will apply, right? Limited view of angle, but that doesn't have anything to do with the pathway that the light actually travels, which is curved.
No, but what's rendering then? What's rendering, whether it's in its true position or not, in this claim, I'm assuming it's Earth curve that's rendering in a different position.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's also bent through all the bendy light pathways that it just doesn't really seem like Earth curve anymore.
Ah, got you. So it is Earth curve, but it doesn't seem like Earth curve because it's not curved.
Well, optically, it isn't curved. It's flat, but actually, it is curved because the light travels in a curved pathway.
It's bullshit. This is bullshit. You can't say
It
optically.
is? It is
Don't
bullshit,
interrupt.
really? Oh, wow. I didn't know that,
hello,
Nathan.
hello,
Thanks for
hello,
telling me.
hello,
Thanks for
hello.
telling me it's bullshit. I didn't know
heard.
that.
Optically, it isn't, but actually, it is. No, optically is actually.
No, that's an observation.
Or like actually observing it.
Yeah, well, something can be there without being observed.
So when you say
What's the
Not
shape
everything is visible.
being observed, though?
Not everything that exists is visible, like gas, for example. A lot of it. It's still
just talking
there,
shy.
but you don't
He's
see
just
it.
trying to irritate me. Everything that's visible
What
like
the
gas.
hell?
He's just trying to wind me up. What you know how to piss me off. You're doing it. Why?
Because I can? And this is
I'm
called
going
the
on mute.
counter arguments, or
I'm
you like
staying
the
out of it.
echo chamber back. You
You
like
can
it
all be
more when I'm
irritated
just
by him,
not
I'm not
here.
gonna be.
Oh, you're opposite. Okay.
I'm curious as to whatever all these descriptions are, what's moving? You've still not given me an answer as to what is moving.
What do you mean moving?
This horizon, what is it? You've described the effects, which means it's not where you say it should be. But what is it that's moving?
The actual geometric sphere edge.
Cool. So all I've got to say to you is Black Swan.
The
Yeah, but it
sphere is
doesn't work
moving?
because Black Swan doesn't take into account that light bends in a curve. So it's irrelevant.
Do you mean in the Black Swan image, it's not bending as you claim, as demonstrated by the image?
No, it is bent. That's why it looks so straight.
It is bent. That's why it looks so straight.
Yeah.
What,
It's a sphere. It should be curved, but it isn't because the light bends, so that makes it look straight.
What looks straight? Your geometric curve?
The horizon, the face of what you're looking over.
And what would that be?
The ball Earth.
Ah.
The ball Earth?
But according to your ball Earth, the horizon could be no more than 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That would make it 1.2 miles away.
Yes.
From a 1 foot observer. But the horizon's a lot further than that, brother.
Yeah, but no, but hold on. You're talking geometrically, it should be, right? That's where the orthographic view comes in, because the orthographic view excludes perspective. So,
but shouldn't you be talking geometrically? That's the point. If you're doing the ball thing, isn't your claim geometric?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
why is it that you're not talking? Oh, just geometric, but not geometrically?
No, geometric, not optically. Right?
Whose argument should be geometric and whose argument should be optic? If you're a, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're a globe believer, which argument should you have?
Just clarity.
Geometric.
Just clarity. Globe believer or anti-flat earther? Because if it's globe believer, then it's geometric for the globe believer, optical for the flat earther. But if it's a anti-flat earther, they can argue whatever the hell they like, so long as it contradicts what we say.
Yeah, globe believer.
Right. So
Tell me, Baldwin.
Look, they made the predictions about the geometry, but they never really took into account the reality of terrestrial refraction optics, right? So that was just an overlook. Although, yeah, if you just go by that story and say geometrically it should, but optically it shouldn't, then it's all fixed.
Tell me, Baldwin, how come your maths on your model for the distance to the horizon, how come they work on a horizontal plane?
I don't know how to answer that one.
Yeah, that took away your little curve, didn't it?
I'm not really that good at math, so.
Yeah, your curve is gone now. The curve you're claiming is there between the observer and the horizon and the Black Swan is not a curve anymore. It's a horizontal distance.
Geodesics or something. I don't know. It's getting really confusing now. It's really hard to argue something that you can't see, but has to be, and then bring up, oh, but it's based on a flat plane measurement. Oh, yeah, very cute.
It's tough being a glober, huh?
It is.
Contradiction's a hard thing to juggle.
It's not that hard. No, but a contradiction is not that difficult at all, unless who you're arguing it with like really notices the difference, right? Because yeah, if everybody's just used to double speak, then it just works out fine. Just yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Okay, let's move on.
You mean like Rob guy that came in and told us that part of Canada was being blocked by this physical Earth curve. And then later on, that same guy went and told us how the Earth is too big and we're too small to see the same thing that was blocking Canada. Like you mean a contradiction like that? And then after it's repeated to him by Nathan, he says, yeah, that does sound like a contradiction.
Yeah, but that's just because he couldn't explain it correctly, right? Geometrically, it blocks it, but optically, we are too small to see it. And terrestrial.
So then how does that fix his first statement where he said he saw with his eyes part of Canada being blocked? How does that work out?
He was probably mistaken. He was probably just thinking geometrically, but didn't realize that you can't see the geometry. So it can happen, you know. I mean, the globe story and how it works is people get very inspired by it, and so they basically look in their minds and not with their eyes anymore. So it's a common mistake, really.
But that guy, the guy who said he looked out across the lake and saw the same exact thing for the past 24 years. No changes whatsoever, no refractive changes, no anything. Just everything was exactly the same. The same thing was exactly the amount needed to be. It needed to be behind a geometric horizon that would fit a globe. Like that guy.
Cool.
Every day, it was exactly the same. Every day, even though anyone else, whoever tested that theory, colloquial, in history, found it to be a complete opposite, where it's never the same. It's always changing every day, even from where they are. That guy.
Well, yeah, well, sorry. I mean, just because you're a glober doesn't mean you can't just straight out lie about something.
Well,
that's
just
one
going
hell
up
of a
on
defense.
Nathan. Yeah, it's an epic defense. I mean, that's a winning argument all day. Just going up on Nathan.
You'll never lose at that one.
Yeah, you can't lose at that one. It's okay for me to lie. I mean,
I didn't say it's okay to lie. I just said he probably lied. I'm sorry. Not all globers are not a collective. Yeah, if somebody says something, that doesn't mean that everybody else agrees with it.
Oh, yes, they are.
Yes, it does.
No, they don't.
Nah, that guy proved himself to be an anti-flat earther when his contradiction was pointed out to him. He concurred that it does sound like a contradiction, but would not concede that he made a contradiction. The same one that he concurred, it sounds like, even though those words came out of his mouth. So, yeah,
Okay.
he came here to lie. He is an anti-flat earther. He's not a glober.
Right. So you
particular
proved
guy.
my case. Thanks. He's probably just a liar then.
Yeah, but your case was supposed to be a glober case, not a anti-flat
but-
earther case.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. I thought I gave a great
It's all right,
defense so
it's all
far.
Or we're just playing victory.
I don't need to declare victory. I am victorious before I even started.
Because it's already a globe and you know it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well,
It's like I
let's go
said
back
before, it's like a take-home test, right? You already have the answer. You just have to now show the work.
Yes, that's how it works.
And the Globers don't like showing the work. They just say, look at my conclusion. Sphere. Or oblate spheroid. Bit pear-shaped. Chubby.
Right. It's like working on a calculation and you already know the answer, right? You just have to get the formula before the is, have to get it right. That's what the globe is about. You know it's a globe. You just have to figure out how it is a globe. How you know.
How you know it's a globe.
Exactly.
So you start with the conclusion and you work backwards from there, as opposed to starting without a conclusion and getting to a conclusion. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's much easier. I mean, we already know it's a globe anyway, so.
You sound like the Oracle. Telling Neo. Sorry, Neo.
No, I was just saying, isn't that how they formed the globe anyway? They worked inside out, right? They back engineered the whole thing.
Right.
They back engineer from flat Earth.
Yeah.
Elevation angles to Polaris.
They figured out the Habersign formula to make it into a flat plane based map system. Okay, that's just a straight out lie. I know.
You know, they deny that at chimpanzees. At the chimpanzees, they just deny. They won't give a counter argument or explain how it's wrong. They'll just say, no, that's not correct.
Well, most of what they do is based around publicly telling somebody, either as a comment or verbally, who is a flat earther, that they're wrong. Now, they aren't going to, majority of the time, especially at one time they would have, but now they can't. They're not going to go into their explanation of how it's supposedly wrong, because their explanation would be fraudulent. And they know that the flat earther will pull that apart. But they just want an audience to hear them telling a flat earther or read them telling a flat earther that they're wrong. But they can't. They've gotten into a situation where they can't actually then state how the flat earther is supposedly wrong, because most of the time the flat earther isn't wrong, and they know that all they've got is some fraudulent logic that's based on pre-assumption that the flat earther will tear apart. It could just be just as simple as, where'd you get your radius from? Where'd you get that R from? That's the end of their whole claim. So they don't want to give an explanation now. They just want to say you're wrong, because it's kind of a confirmation bias.
Well, it's really tiresome to get into the really is level, you know?
Well, it's difficult for you.
Strenuous to subtly get with the real foundations of where you all got it
but
from.
you already live there. Like, this is the weird thing. People want to put themselves in a place that doesn't exist in imagination land. You already live and work and exist on the really is level. Why would you put yourself somewhere else to look at the same reality that way? That doesn't make any sense to me.
How would you know? How would you know that we're really living on the really is level? Maybe this is all just a giant imagination. Maybe we're all just brains in jars. Or maybe I imagined you all.
I knew
I'm
the
just a brain in a jar.
was coming. I knew it.
Yep.
Hey, Crawford, that's what
I
my
could have
son
called
said.
it.
That's what my son said yesterday. He goes, "We're in a simulation." That's his conclusion of the whole matter. That we're in a simulation.
Well, total solipsistic reversal. You know, if they can't prove their imagination is the physical reality, then they will go into full solipsistic reversal, basically collapse in on itself, and nothing is proven.
Yeah, but the problem is that's actually all what you're stating there is the state that we're in a simulation. First of all, you're claiming, well, that means that simulation had to have been created. That means, right, that's evolution at the window. Secondly, yeah, we are in a simulation. This is a simulated reality. When we die, real reality happens. That's what real reality is. What we perceive as reality.
Well, that's a belief.
Is a simulation. So yeah, I agree.
You don't know that.
Well, it's a simulation that hasn't been created, so I do know it.
Physical reality is the physical reality. It might be simulatory, but it's not a simulation because there is no other reality that this is a simulation of. I don't believe that at all.
Well, when you die, then what are you?
Then you're something else that continues.
I don't see how this is. I don't see how this is a simulation is any refutation of any of our arguments, because the simulation you're talking about would still be measured, navigated, and optically looks flat. So I don't know what.
But not geometrically. But not geometrically. In the math, it's still spherical.
Oh God.
Sorry, I had to do it.
I know.
But seriously, I don't think that this is the real material world. This is not an emulation of the material world. I don't think that there's only this material world, right? And there might be something other than the material world, like a spirit existence even with purpose. Who knows? But this is not a simulation of something else that is the real physical reality.
Right.
That is my very strong conviction on that part.
Brian's right.
So not evolution then. So even a brain in a jar means someone had to create the
I'm
brain
not
in the jar.
right
Create the jar.
Just for the record, I'm not ballowing right now. I'm not ballowing right now. I don't think we're a brain in a jar.
You know that. We know you're not ballowing. We know when you're ballowing.
He's always ballowing.
Do you?
I'd agree with you, Arwen. I think you can prove a creator, you can't prove continued existence. The two aren't mutually inclusive.
Well, you're right, Adam. That has to come by faith. You're right. According to Christian doctrine, we believe that by faith.
No, logically,
the main thing is, like Palm Sunday was just this Sunday, and the main thing is the resurrection. So we hold that belief by faith that we'll have a resurrected body. I don't doubt that. I don't deny that.
Well, something can't exist and then not exist. So once you've come into existence, then you exist forever.
Because we're matter, correct?
Well, we are part matter, but
can't be destroyed or created, right?
Yeah, well, once we are created, let's say us as in our personality, who we are personally, once we've been created, we can't ever not be in existence. Regardless of what the outcome is, we always exist after that point.
That's correct.
What, it's nice to think that. Where's the evidence for that?
I said Christian.
History.
I don't know where Brian's getting evidence, but mine is the Christian doctrines that I believe in. And we're all going to live forever. But where you go is something
philosophical or logical point of view, as opposed to spiritual. It's just like history. The fact that I exist now, when I die, even if nothing happens after that, I have existed, so I exist forever because I am part of history now.
Is existing living? You know, if you exist beyond, is that living when you're no longer bound to this cycle that we understand is living, or do you just exist? We don't know.
The breakfast I ate this morning, does that exist still?
Yeah.
Is it? Where?
Well, it exists because you experienced it.
I experienced it. I'm still not experiencing it anymore. It's gone.
Yeah, but you did experience it, so it was in existence, so it can never not be now, because you know you can't deny that you had it.
Well, what about entropy?
I'm not denying I had it. I'm denying it exists anymore.
What about entropy? Right, something that exists
Maybe in the
eventually
form
will not exist anymore, so it will be something else.
It may not exist in the form it was on your plate or whatever, but it still exists. It's in your memory. It's in history that happened. That breakfast existed.
That's not existing. That's a record of something. It's not it existing.
Well, you might have changed it what it looked like, but it still exists. Still there within.
No, that's not. That's not a unit anymore.
Where's that sausage right now?
It has existed. It doesn't exist anymore because it's not it. If it's not it, then it doesn't exist. It's something else.
Well, it could be in your digestive system, or it could be gone down your toilet. I don't know. But the point is that it was made. It existed. So now it exists forever because it's part of history.
That makes sense.
That sounds like a reification leap from it exists or it existed, so it always exists. No, it doesn't. It might in some other dimension or whatever, but this is the palpable, provable reality, and in it doesn't exist anymore.
I don't think I go along with that logic.
No, I can't eat that sausage again. I don't even see that sausage again.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Well, if it's not there anymore, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, but when you die, then you're saying that's that.
So do you mean by that? Do you mean, Brian, that all right? So the breakfast itself doesn't exist anymore, but the idea of it still exists? Like, what do you mean?
Well, it exists as in it's now part of history, and it didn't disappear because neither matter nor energy can be created or destroyed.
No,
so it might have changed form, but it still exists. All that matter and energy still exists.
Yeah, but now you're talking.
But sausages can be destroyed.
But what's a sausage? What's your human body?
That sausage.
Well, what's your human body? Your human body, when you die, it decomposes. Does that mean that you die?
Yeah.
Did you cease to exist?
You've not settled the argument on a sausage yet. Don't get into complex life forms. Stick with a sausage.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing.
I'm not a sausage.
Sorry.
Where's that sausage?
Yeah,
Does that sausage exist?
Yeah, but the matter or energy that created the sausage still exists, or that went into the sausage, I should say. Sorry, still exists.
Is it all in one place, or are you saying the composite molecules still exist?
Well, define one place. Define one place. How can you define one place?
In a sausage. In a sausage.
Maybe it doesn't. That matter and energy is not a sausage anymore, but the matter and energy still exists.
Perfect. I'm happy with that. So the sausage doesn't exist, but matter and energy still do, but no longer in the form of a sausage.
Yeah, but the sausage is a man-made thing. We came up with sausages.
All right. Well, with the sausage, I had an egg.
Yeah.
I smashed that egg too.
This conversation is making me hungry now.
Well, Adam wants to know, does his egg still exist? Yeah, just not as an egg.
So the egg doesn't exist. Fine.
Right. So the material
No,
exists, but the egg doesn't.
The form doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Well, isn't the form part of what it is? It is it because of the form.
I would say if you just ate it, it probably still exists in your stomach.
No, it doesn't.
It takes about.
It's not looking like an egg right now.
Yeah, but if you just ate it, right, it might not look the way it did before you put it in your mouth. But now that it's in your stomach, there's the egg.
And this time tomorrow?
No, that's a different thing. That's why I prefaced it with if you just ate it.
Yeah. I just ate Arwen. He might still look a bit like Arwen.
Hey.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah. Is Discord alive, or is it still not connected?
No, Discord's connected.
Where's Nathan?
What are you talking
Quiet.
about?
Hey, Nathan,
There's
you're
nothing
still
wrong with
there.
Discord, as far as I'm aware.
What, Discord connected again?
No, I don't think so. Can someone say hello from Discord?
Discord is working, yeah.
Oh, it's working. Okay, good. What's up, Discord?
Nobody's saying hello to you.
I guess I'm the only one from Discord. What's up? What's up?
Yeah, I knew it was working. Thank you for saying hello.
How's the fishing going? Any catching anything? You throwing any bait out there?
You have to mute when you're not talking though, Mighty Mush, because you're causing feedback.
Sorry.
Nathan, who was the fisherman over there? What was his name again? Guy that used to throw out his bait and bring some ballers in. Not Sin Cleanser. Sin Cleanser was annoying. Yeah, you insulted him that day, and he never got over it. Sin Cleanser.
Told us our standards are too high.
Nathan's a mean bastard. You're so mean, Nathan. Oh, that's another thing they said on Gem Pandas. Nathan just mutes people. He's very arrogant, smug. I would call it smug.
Doesn't Kiwi have a whole numpty clip of Gem Panda accusing Nathan of being muting people, and then he's muting everybody.
Yes.
Mute.
I'm just gonna mute you. Oh, that's
right,
a good
you're
video
all
too.
muted until I say my bit.
Yeah, that was a good clip.
That son of a bitch Nathan Oakley mutes people. I'm gonna mute all of you. Listen, sometimes the mute button is necessary.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I don't like Discord is that anyone can mute you. So if you go into a server, someone can mute you. You're in the middle of speaking and you don't even realize you got muted. You know, someone can mute you. Just I could mute Neil, Neil can mute me. All that rubbish. You know, it's totally ridiculous. It's
You
corrupted.
can't just mute somebody else. You have to have some kind of moderation function to do that.
Yeah, but it can be done. I mean, if you go into somewhere and there's 20 mods, not that I have any interest in going in there, because I wouldn't. But if you go in there and there's 20 of the 30 people in there are mods, then any of those 20 can mute you if they don't like what you're saying.
Hey Brian, what do you think of that? What do you think about them saying that QE scientific method that we all stand by, QEs and Nathans, it's only 6th grade.
Are they still saying that, Neil?
Yeah, they told me that yesterday.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, but it doesn't matter if the whole point is they were supposed to learn it at that age.
That's
They're
what I
supposed
said.
to know it. Yeah, it doesn't matter when it's taught. I mean, just because something is taught, fire burns. When they teach that to children, does that mean that it's a moot point when you're an adult? Does fire not burn when you're an adult? Do you know what I mean? That's just the most stupid, illogical argument.
Here's what it is. If they can keep enough people in doubt with their little, well, that's what you learn in 6th grade and higher learning, you learn the real science. M. Scott V said that to me years ago. But if they could keep inserting that and have people, hold on to that little bit of, wait a second, I never went to college, they might be right.
When
they got people.
Science, let me just give an example of M. Scott Veitch's real science. A curved line can be a straight line as long as it curves in a straight way. That's what, yeah. So throw out
That's
scientific methods.
facts.
Do you hear that?
Yeah,
do you hear that?
exactly.
Do you hear that chuckle from Arwin? That's Arwin going, yeah, I just used that a minute ago, didn't I?
Yeah, he did.
Well, I didn't really go that far. I didn't say straight is bend. It's just I created this dichotomy between optical and geometric, and I kept it there. I didn't say like straight lines are curved or anything. I didn't go that far.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't. I just claimed curved lines
Your
of
whole
light.
claim
That is
was
all.
based on straight lines being curved.
No, light being curved.
Yeah, but you claimed a path, a curved path to what we see in a straight line.
Yeah, but I didn't say that literally, like the conception of straight is curved or anything. I didn't go that far.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't. Stop saying that. I didn't do that.
Really? Then how come
really?
in your
You can
maths,
listen
the
back
distance
yourself.
to the
I didn't say
horizon?
that. I don't
Then how
go
come
there.
in your maths, how come in your maths, the distance to the horizon can be calculated along a horizontal plane?
It's because of the Haversine formula.
Nah, now you're just desperate. Nothing to do with Haversine, without my question.
Yeah, well,
Even your
that was my answer.
was
though.
better
So,
before.
look,
Terrible.
I never went into the math with you. I never claimed
Terrible.
that curve is straight, and that's a really weird thing to straw man me with, because I didn't do that. I took another route.
I didn't straw man anything. I just asked a question. There's no straw man.
Well, you're claiming that I said curved is straight, and I never did.
So you're claiming that it's not a globe limb ball.
This has nothing to do with what we were discussing.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't. You're just opening up a new inquiry now. Okay? I never said curved is straight or like straight lines curve or anything like that. I merely claimed the optical side is all curved because the light curves. That is all.
Are you saying that the water from the shoreline to the horizon is a curved line?
Geometrically, it is, yes.
But that's not geometric in your paradigm. That's optical.
Indeed.
Wait, now, are you talking about within something you see, right?
I said the water between the shoreline and the horizon. I said.
Okay, so you're talking about.
You say geometrically it is, but in your model that isn't geometric.
Well, let's clear up first what you're talking about. Are you talking about some observation, or are you talking about
the water between the shoreline and the horizon? Is that curved?
Okay, well, if you're drawing in the horizon, then I assume that you are talking about optics. So if you're going by optical standard, then no, it isn't curved.
So it's a horizontal then.
Optically, yes. But geometrically, no, because all the light is curved in itself. But within that curved paradigm of light, yeah, it's straight.
But you can't use a geometric argument because it's not geometric in your model. You're claiming that that is an optical horizontal. So you can't add any geometric argument after that.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Primary Streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!